Hey everyone, we are going to build today expense tracker app. So the idea here is to basically create all the workflow for this. So adding a new expense, managing expenses, approving expenses, and also we are going to show you how to use permissioning to have a different kind of access for the expense manager and the employee of your company. So you will have here, I don't know, basically 70% or 80% of a complete expense management system. It's really easy to build. We'll have this available as a template as well. But it's not only easier, it's better because you can personalize for your own company, and it's also, in my view, it could be much cheaper because you could use these users for any other process in your company. So we are going to build here a really cost effective and flexible way for expense tracker management. And basically that's the idea, right, Fernando? So we're going to build it from scratch. I think you're going to show you a little bit of the final solution, and then we're going to show you the steps as well if you want to understand how to build something like this, or even how the features work and this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the idea here is basically to build an expense tracker app which has two different parts. Like I said, there's a part for the manager, which is basically just an expanded version of the app. And then there's the version for the end user, which I'm going to also show here, which is a little bit more condensed, and there's less access to all the information. So basically, the person submitting expenses, they only have access to their own information, and they have limited actions in the app. So there's a lot of little things here. So I'm going to show you guys what exactly is going on here and how we're going to build this. But basically, to make things simple, we have this expense tracker app, which is basically a Kanban board on which you receive new records. So a person has to incur some costs. They buy something for the company. They're traveling and they like fill up their tank with gas. So they pay through the company card, or they pay by themselves, and they have to ask for reimbursement. So the idea here is that all of this is going to go into the first section of the Kanban board. And then in this board, you're going to see that you cannot move cards by dragging and dropping. We've disabled that. You can only move cards through the buttons. If you open the card, you have a customized interface for the card itself. We're going to delve a little bit further into that later. And also, you cannot create cards directly into the stage, so we've disabled that as well. Because one thing to remember is that customizing sometimes it is a lot about disabling options. Sometimes you don't want to do something, so we give you the option to disable some features, like creating a card directly into a specific stage and so on. You can also see that there's a couple of filters here, and if you look at the card itself, there's also conditional colors. It's very simple basically here. If it's something that was paid by the company through the company card, it's green. If it's something that needs to be reimbursed, it's a little bit red. And this is basically the Kanban board. So we also have the form through which people are going to submit these records. So you can see that there is a title, a category. This is also customizable. They can say if it's paid by the company or through a personal card or money, so they have to be reimbursed. They have to put in a date. So I'm just going to fill this in so we can go to the next page. They can put in the date and the total. And then when you click on next, they have to provide notes. So they have to justify the expense, and they have to send the receipt, and they can submit. This is going to go to the first stage of the expense tracker app. So there's also two other apps here. You have My Expenses, which is basically a filter dashboard in which a person can see their expense log, so everything they submitted. In this table, you cannot see other submissions, only things that you've created. The same goes for the indicators, so you can see how much was approved, how much is pending, how much was rejected. And you have this list view here, which is for things that are on the, here you go, info needed stage. So if for some reason you've submitted something and they said, oh, this receipt is, we need a better picture of it, there's a part that was cut off or something like this, they can add information here. So let's go to the information part. So you can see here on approver notes, we need a proper skin for this receipt. Can you update this? And then when you click on info needed, this is going to go to this stage, and then it's going to appear here. So in this part, the person can click on it. They can see the notes, but they cannot change it. So we can see what the approver said about this, and then you can update or correct information. So the notes, you can upload the receipt again, save, and then click on resubmit. So let's say we provided justification for it. So I've updated the picture. So you're going to click on save, and then we're going to resubmit it. And this is going to leave this part. And if we go to the expense tracker app, it's back here again. So this is how the My Expenses part works. The idea here is that the person is going to be able to see everything that they've submitted. They can filter if it's something that they paid through the company card or personal, and they can go by date as well. And then you have the all expenses part, which is basically a dashboard showing everything that happened independently of who submitted it. So you have the same part of indicators for approved, pending, and rejected. But now you can select a specific person. You have a chart for expenses by date, and then you have an expense log, which again is not filtered by person. You can see that here on the created by, we have more than one person. So this is the app. It's working pretty well for everything that we've shown so far. But this is the manager version, because they have the expense tracker apps and the all expenses, which have unfiltered data. They have access to everything. They can approve, they can reject stuff. So now I'm going to show the end user part of the expense tracker app. So this is the version for the person who's submitting something, and it's not a manager. You can see down here, it's another user, it's a different user. They have different permissions. And in the same app, the only thing they have access to is the form itself and the My Expenses part. So you can see that they don't have access to all the information, only information regarding themselves. And if I click on apps, you can see that the only thing they have here is Near Expense app, which is basically this app again. So it's really easy for the person to navigate and to use this. This becomes incredibly easy to use. So this is the app. So I'm now going to show the structure, and we're going to begin building things. I'm going to build a simplified version. I'm not going to provide so many descriptions, because the idea here is to show the how this works. So we're going to build it a little bit more rapidly, but you're going to be able to, by watching this live stream, you should be able to recreate everything that we did here so far. So I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going back to the manager account. So now we have the builder mode, and I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to show you guys the structure. And this is an interesting app, because the structure itself is really simple. The database is really simple, because there's only one database. You basically have a table for the expenses. And here, the table is named Expense Tracker. You have a title, you have a category, you have the total, date, notes, receipt. Each of these is, like you guys can see here, there's a type of data. So notes is text with rich text formatting. The receipt is a image field. So the idea here is to create the fields that you need. So you may want additional information that we didn't put in this template. So you can always come here, click on this plus sign, and add a new column. So if I wanted, for example, a checklist, I could do it. If I wanted tags and things like that. So the only important part here that I'm going to go into more detail is that as we're managing this through a Kanban board, we need a single option field for the stages. So a Kanban board needs a single option field that will define the stages. And in this case, it's the stage field. I'm going to show you guys. It's a single option field named stage, and we have 4 stages: new, infinited, approved, and rejected. So the idea here is that those options are going to define the stages that I have the Kanban board. And we also have four buttons, which are buttons for automations. We have approve, reject, infinited, and resubmit. And they're very simple buttons. The only thing that they're doing is moving the card around because we've disabled the drag and drop. So for the approve button, which you can customize color and emoji or icon in the button itself, I'm just going to go to the automation itself. So when you click approve, you move a card to a stage. So in the expense tracker, when I click on approve, the record itself in which I press the button is going to go to the stage approved. So very simple automations. Basically 4 buttons do basically the same thing. Approved is going to send the card to approved. Reject is going to send the card to rejected. Infinited is going to send the card to infinited, and resubmit is going to move the card back to new so the manager can look at it again. If more information is needed from the user, the manager is going to provide a request, and then they're going to click on infinited. The person is going to see correct information and click on resubmit, and this is going to move the card around. So this is basically all of the structure. Like I said, it's very simple. The cool thing about this template is that we're going to use more time thinking about the interface and the experience than actually thinking about the database. So this is basically it. Okay, so let's get started to building the app itself. So the first thing that I'm going to build here is the Kanban board, which is basically, actually scratch that. The first thing that I'm going to build is the submission form. I think it's more important right now. So I'm going to click on new app page, and I'm going to name this submit expense, and I'm going to just name it live here, just so it's a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to create a super form. We always say this in every live stream, but super forms are the best way to interact with information inside Jester. We have default panels, so you don't have to create a super form. But if you want to customize the interface, if you want to use more advanced features, you're going to want to use the super form. So I'm going to name it submit expense. I'm going to leave the description here as use this form to submit a new expense. And I'm going to remove the logo for now, and I'm going to remove the cover. You can see them on the example here. I don't want them right now. And if this is a form, it's going to feed information into a database, into a table. In this case, it's the expense tracker table. So there you go. And now I'm going to select the fields that I want to use in this form. So it's going to give me all of the fields that I've already created. So I want title, I want, let's see, category, I want paid by, I want date and total, I want notes, I want receipt, so the person can send the picture, and I also want the stage. And you may be thinking, why does the person get to send the stage? But they're not going to. We're going to use this information just to make the card always go into the first stage of the Kanban board. So those are all the fields for the form itself. I'm going to click on save so you guys can see how's this working. So there you go. This is the form by default. So there's a couple of things here that I want to change. For example, how I'm seeing this information for category and paid by. and I don't want the person to select a stage, right? I don't want someone to just submit something and check approved. So I'm going to edit it. You can also see that no field here is required, so we're going to change that as well. So I'm going to edit the title, required. We could also add a description, but I don't want this right now. Category is also required, and I'm going to change to standard so we don't have all the options here. It's just going to be a drop-down menu. For paid by, we only have two options, so I'm thinking of button-like. You're going to see how this works later. Also required, forgot about that. Date and total are also required. Notes and received as well. Okay, so for stage, the thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to edit this. I'm going to hide this field from view, so the person is not going to be able to see this field when they're submitting the form. But I'm also going to check predefined value, and I'm going to say that every time someone submits this something through this form, it's going to go to new on stage. So basically, this field is here to guarantee that everything that I submit here goes to the first stage in the Kanban board. So I'm going to click on save just so you guys can see what's going on. And there you go. It's looking a little bit better. We have required fields and so on. State's not appearing here, but if I try to submit it, it's going to go to new. And just a few changes. I'm going to add a form block for inline. So date and total are on the same row because there's no need to occupy so much space here. They're like short information. And I'm also going to break this. So after the person provides the basic information, in the next page, they submit the notes and receipt. So I'm going to save this. And there you go. So I'm going to go with gas. It's something related to travel and food. The company paid this. It was today, and it's like, I don't know, $30 in gas. I'm going to click on next, and then you have notes and receipt. They are also required. So if I fill this in, I can click on submit. And one thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this form shorter because there's no need for the button to be so down there. Okay, so this is the form for submission. It's working just as intended. I'm just going to give this an icon or an emoji, and it's going to be a writing emoji. There you go. So this is the form for creation. I'm going to go now and create the Kanban board. So let's click on new app page, expenses board. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to give an emoji just so it looks better on the menu. So it's stationary. Here we go. Okay, so if you guys remember, we have a Kanban board on the other app. I'm just going to click on Smart Kanban, and this is going to automatically create a Kanban board for me with example information. So we wait until it's created. We're going to just move it and resize it. There you go. So this is a Kanban board, and this Kanban board has to see information and manipulate information from somewhere. So what I'm going to do here is call this Kanban, and it's going to see information from the expense tracker table by stage. And then I can select the fields that are, and buttons that are going to appear on the cover of the card, right? I don't want the title. It's always going to appear anyway. I want category. I want total date. I'm going to shift this around. And I want who paid for this. Actually, I don't want who paid for this because it's going to be conditional. And I want to see who created this expense. So it's going to be the last thing. There you go. And also the buttons, I'm going to select approve, reject, and info needed, which are the manager actions in the Kanban board. So there you go. And we're going to change some of the settings here. So I don't want to be able to add cards to specific stages, so I'm going to deselect this. I'm going to hide card empty fields, so there's not a field just showing empty, just in case. And let me see this. I don't want to be able to drag and drop, so I'm going to check disable drag and drop.
Yeah,
And for the
sometimes people overcomplicate this. They want an automation or they want any other kind of rule to not allow people to just move to the next stage. But one really easy way to do this is the way that you are doing. So the only way that they go to the next stage, it's if they fill out all the required information, or if they click on the button, or if someone approves or anything like this. So they are not even able to drag and drop to the next stage. Usually for other workflows and so on, you want the drag and drop option, and it will always be available. You could have both here. However, there is a lower chance of a mistake if you block this, because then you just narrow your process to the exactly process that you want to do. So you could do this, allowing drag and drop, adding automations and so, but it's much more complicated. And I believe this way is safer than with automations. And some people don't like it because they are used to just drag and drop, but it's better to just not drag and drop and just follow the process and learn how it works than to just try to adapt to some to block someone to drag and drop or anything like this. So in this case, it's not even a block. They just cannot do this. It's not even possible.
exactly. So to finish this up, the only thing that I'm going to do here is that I'm going to add conditional colors for the cards. So I'm going to click on condition. And what I'm going to do here is if something is already paid by the company, there's no further action required. So we're going to color it green. So if something is paid by the company, it's green. And another condition, if something is paid by the person, so we have to reimburse them, it's going to be a little bit orange, right? So there you go. And now we just have to click on save. There you go. So this is exactly how we want this to be. All right, so we're going to create a new block. We're going to add a search filter. So this is the part that is going to have like options, so we can select and filter the Kanban board. So I'm going to name this filter, and let's create some filters. I'm going to create a filter named who, so I can select a user. So the filter type is user, and it's going to filter the Kanban board, and it's going to filter by who created the card, who submitted the form. And I'm also going to use another for when. Let's select the color here, and I'm going to use a date range. So I can select a specific period of time, and I'm going to filter the Kanban by when the card was created. Oh, sorry, when the expense was made. No border, and there you go. So we've created the filter, and it's down here. You can see that it already works. So I can select who, and I'm going to go with Dr. Penguin, and it's going to filter the Kanban. So you can see that there's only one card that they created. I could also filter through dates, so you can see this. And this filter, we're actually going to hide it and put it in the title bar, which I'm going to create right now. So create block, title bar. There you go. So this title bar is going to be dark green. We can create a new card directly through here, and it creates something in the expense tracker. The button is white, and add expense. There you go. So I don't want to use the standard panel to create an expense here, because I already have a super form for creating expenses, right? For submitting expenses. So I'm going to disable this, follow standard table rules, and then I'm going to select an app page, which is submit expense, and select the form that I created there. So this makes it so when I press the add expense button, I'm not going to use the standard panel, I'm going to use the form. I want to open this in the center card, wider variety, and there you go. And for the search, I'm going to disable the standard search filter, and I'm going to use the filter that I've created in this page. So I'm going to click on save. And you can see that, there you go. The filter is not down here anymore, it's up here. So I can select through here. And when I click on add expense, it's using the form that I created beforehand. So this is working out quite nicely. Okay, so we have two more parts, right? We have the my expenses and we have the all expenses. So we're going to create the my expenses right now. So I'm going to create a new app page, and I'm going to name it my expenses live stream, so it's a little bit easier for me to find later on. My expenses, the icon is going to be a person emoji. So let's just search for person here. There you go. And we had three things in this app page before. We had a list view in which a person can see things that they have to resubmit. We have indicators showing how much was approved, how much was rejected, how much is pending. And we have a table for a history log of everything that I've submitted since ever, right? So let's go with the first part. We're going to click here on more blocks and go with a list view. Let's search for it. Here we go, list view. So I'm going to select table. And for this, this list is going to see the expense table, the expense tracker table. It's going to be sorted by dates, descending. So newer things are first. And I have to select the things that are on the cover of the list, right? Which, like, this is an example, right? So I want to show the receipt at first. So if you want this type of view in which there's an image on the left part of the list, you have to use an image field as the first option. And then I'm going to add category, paid by, date, and total. I don't know if you guys remember this, but we also had a button for resubmitting. So we just select the button that we've created before. So pending, it's not pending, it's additional info needed. Provide. So there you go. So we're going to leave it as that because we didn't create the super form yet that we're going to use to update the information. So we're just going to click on save. And there you go. This is the list. But you can already see that there's a problem here because it's showing all the requests, the expenses, right? So we're going to edit this and add filters. So there's two filters that we're going to show here. The first one, it's a little bit clearer. So it's only going to show records that are on the info needed stage, right? Because those are the records that need additional information. But we're also going to add a new rule and say that we're only going to show records at the info needed stage, but that are also created by the logged user. So this means that it's only going to show information regarding the user that's using the app, right? So it's not going to show things that other people have created. So I'm going to click on save. And you can see that there are no records who fulfill this condition, so there's nothing appearing here. Okay, so now we're going to create the indicators. There were three of them, approved, pending, and rejected. So we're going to name the first approved, it's going to see the expense tracker table. It's going to sum the total, and we're going to add filters as well. And it's going to be things that are approved, so they're on the approved stage, and the same thing we did before, only things that the logged user has created. There you go. And also going to change the color here. So let's click on save. Save. There you go. So now we're going to just clone these blocks so we can edit it. It's a little bit easier because most of the things are not going to change. We're just going to change the title to pending. We're going to change the filter. Instead of approved is things in new and infinited. And we're also going to change the color. There we go. So this is the, there you go. So just going to make this a little bit. And now we're going to clone this again. And for the last part, we're going to go with rejected. So we're going to change the filter. Instead of looking at things that are new or infinited, we're going to look at things that are rejected. We're going to save and change the color to a light red. So there you go. There you go. And for the last part, we're going to create a smaller table with all the history of things that this person has requested. So we're going to create block, create a table. We're not actually creating a new table, not creating like a database. We're creating a table view for a table that we already have, right? So I'm just going to resize this, and I'm going to call this expenses log. It's going to look at expenses tracker, and then I can select the fields that I want to see. So I'm basically going to select nearly all of them, right? So except for the buttons. There you go. So received, notes, approver notes, and I'm just going to deselect the buttons themselves. So there you go. We're also going to sort by date and descending, so newer things are first. Okay, so it's read-only. The person cannot change the information through here. So let's click on save. And there you go. And those are all records that I created with this user. I cannot see information from other users here. We could also, I'm going to create a title bar. We could do the same thing we did before, which is creating a search filter. I'm not going to do that because we've already did in the other app page. So you have this example. But for the final version of the app, we have search filters in all the pages. So I'm just going to skip that because we've already done an example. No add record button, no show search, and there you go. All right, so for the last part of the app, we have the all expenses. So I'm going to edit this. And it's going to be a globe. There you go. So we had the indicators, we had the chart by person, and we also had the history log of all records. So I'm just going to go here and do the same thing that I had done in the other part. So total, and the only filter that we're going to add this time is stage. So stage is approved. Okay. So, and change the color. And we're going to click on save. There you go. And now we're going to clone this. Same thing, but now it's pending. We're going to change the filter. So instead of approved, it's new and infinited. And I'll change the color. There you go. So it's a little bit faster now because basically what we're doing is just cloning and changing a few parameters. So, and this is going to be rejected. Change the filter from new to rejected and change the color from this orange to red, and there you go. And there you go. So now we have to create the chart. So let's create a new block, click on chart. And this is a chart for expenses by date. So I'm going to name this by date. It's a simple bar chart. It's going to see things from expense tracker. The x-axis, so the horizontal part, is going to be date. And the y-axis, which is the sum here, the vertical part, is going to be total. And I'm going to add a different color here. There's not much that I'm going to change here, so let's click on save. There you go. And the last thing that I'm going to do here is create a table for the log of all expenses submitted, right? So there you go. So we're just going to remove some of the fields. We don't want the button. In order. Oh. There you go. And it's read only. Okay, save. So now we're done with this. We could also add a search filter. Like I said, it's on the final version of the app. We're not going to do this for brevity purposes, so we don't go on for too long here. I'm just going to create a title bar as well, and there you go. So if later we want to create a search filter and add to this title bar, it's already here. So before showing permissioning, there's only one thing that we have to do. A couple of things actually. One is creating the update form for the pending records, and then we're also going to condense this all into a single app, and all of those are pretty quick actually. So I'm going to go back to home and click on new app page. I'm going to call this one pending info form live, and I'm going to add a super form. So this is the form for when additional information is required. And I'm going to remove this description. So if someone is on that list and they see that there's something that they have to resubmit, this is the form that you're going to see, right? So it's a expense tracker form, and when they open the the form, what I want to show them is the approver's notes. So they're going to be saying something like, you forgot to submit the receipt fee, or the picture is not high quality enough. So it's going to be read only. And then they can resubmit the notes and the receipt. And this is going to be required. There you go. But this is not a form for creating records. I'm not creating a new expense. This is a form used to update an existing expense record. So I'm going to click on update record. There you go. And I'm also going to disable record selection because I don't want people to be using this form directly. So they won't have the option to just select the record that they want to update. So let's go back to the My Expenses app. And now we're going to edit this list view. And now here you can go to record update form, disable the standard panel, go to the app that we've just created, which I forgot the name. I think it's additional info needed. Live. I don't know if I named it. So let's just refresh the browser. There you go. Let's see. Let's disable standard rules and was it pending? Oh, it's this one, pending info form. And we're going to select that form, opening center card, but wider. And also, I'm going to show the chat. Maybe someone commented on this record, right? So I'm going to click on save. And now, if there was a record here, which I'm going to.
One thing that I like to do sometimes as well, as it's a similar format that you're using there. If I have a Kanban, sometimes instead of have a first stage, I prefer to have a list view or a table on top for classification or checking if all the information is correct. And then under it, I have the Kanban. We could do this on another live as well, but of course everything could be one Kanban. But I prefer to have the first stage on top because usually it's when you need to be to do something that's faster, like give a feedback to someone, ask for information, and so on. And afterwards, when the information is complete, then you can go through your own process, and you don't need to bother any other person anymore. So I prefer to do like that because you have like a triage on top, and then the process on the bottom. But it's similar that the one that you are showing, but for a different purpose.
Exactly. So I've just moved a card to pending information just to show you guys how it does work here. So now when I click on this, it's going to use the form that I've just created, right? So it's not going to use this standard panel for updates. There you go. So the last thing that we have to do is just condense this all into a single app. So I'm going to go to the submit expense form. I'm going to use this as the center of the app. And I forgot to create a title bar here, no problem. I'm just going to update this and a title bar. It's green, there is no add record button, there is no search. Let's save. There you go. And now I'm going to use a menu bar. So this is the navigation, and this is the thing that brings all of the app together, right? So the top part is going to be the same green, and the menu part is going to be green, but a little bit darker. And then I can select the apps that are going to be on the menu itself. So it's the expense tracker, the expenses board. It's going to be the my expenses, and it's going to be the all expenses. I think it's this one. Forgot to add live to it. So there you go. We can define some settings. I could remove the chat. I could remove the login part, but I want to use all of this. So there you go. I think the only thing missing is the form that we're going to use in the Kanban board. But like I said, it's a very similar process to the pending information. We didn't build some search filters as well, but we went to that one. So if you want to do it, you can check back a little bit earlier. So there you go. This is the app. So when I switch off the builder mode, I can see what people are going to be seeing here on this app. So it seems to be all working as intended. And if I click on this, it's the super form that I created before. So it's working perfectly. So the last part, and it's going to be really quick, is, okay, so this is the manager app. So I built everything. I have access to everything. So what if I want to give access to someone who only has to submit expenses and see my expenses? So let's switch builder mode back to on, click on roles. So now I'm going to create a role for this hypothetical end user, right? So I'm going to create a role, and it's going to be called expenses live, just for this live stream purpose. Okay, so I can add a different color to it. Okay, so I'm going to click on save, and here you go. It's down here. So I can click on edit and manage table, apps, and pages. So now all I'm going to do is select the parts that the person needs to have access to. So in this case, they need access to the submit expense form. I don't want to give access to the Kanban board, but I want to give access to the my expenses live stream version. And one thing that's very important for the my expenses part, they have a form that's going to be summoned by the additional information parts, right? So we're going to add this as well to the permissions. And finally, we have to give access to the expense tracker app. They're not going to be able to go directly into the table to see all the information. Of course, if you don't give this permissioning behaviors. So by default, normal users are not going to be able to jump directly into tables. This is the best way to use Jasper. Maybe you want to give them access, but it's not recommended. It's recommended that you always build app pages and give access to the app pages, but you also have to give access to the table, so they have permission to see the information there, even from the app pages. So I'm just going to click on app tabs, and this is done. All right, so this is all that is needed, and I can just click on manage members, and we're going to add a member. Dr. Penguin is going to be an expenses users. I'm going to add it. I'm going to change their role, and it's this one. This is Dr. Penguin. I'm just going to refresh my screen, refresh the browser. I've changed the permissioning. So I have to log out just to make it a little bit faster. Just a second, and there you go. I'm just going to show this on my screen. And there you go. All they have access to is the form that I've just created. And you can see that this is the version that we just built on this live stream. So you can see that it's very simple to do this through the permissions part. All you have to do is give access only to the things that you want this person to see. So they don't have access to the Kanban board, they don't have access to the all expenses page, and in virtue of that, they only have access to limited parts of the app, so they can submit an expense through this form, and then they can only see information regarding things they submitted. So that's basically it. Bruno, don't know if you have any other information or anything that you want to change here.
No, that's great. Like we're going to make it available for all users as a template, so you can go there, edit, check it out how the automation was done, the table, the buttons, and everything. One of our viewers here asked like what we are going, what are we working on, and it's expense manager app. So basically, if you have an expense on your company and you want to approve or not this expense, we just built a tool for you to just manage this process from the beginning to the end of the process. So that's all. And next we'll come with another live with more apps and tools for you guys. So if you have any suggestions, just send us a message and we'll try to bring as many solutions here as possible to you guys. See you. Bye bye.
Thanks, bye.